as the bombs hit, I remember I was laying on my back in the hedgerow behind my houses, looking upwards, and the first thing I saw immediately after the explosion was the air, the whole sky filled with feathers. And I learnt afterwards that were the beds, that they were the beds exploding in the houses, and the air simply filled with feathers. You could see nothing but feathers fluttering around in the sky. My name is Denis and I was born in Bexhill in 1934. As a young 6-year-old, I was literally looking upwards at everything as it happened. I saw just about everything that was going on in the way of aircraft flying over Bexhill towards London or on bombing runs towards London. So yes, I could, from a little boy's point of view, it was a good adventure. I saw it all. On that particular day, it was an absolutely beautiful sunny summer day. I was playing in my back garden, and there were actually, as I played on the very day, there were aircraft overhead, way up, you know, several thousand feet up. And they were obviously German bombers going one way or the other. I'm not sure whether they were going to London on that particular day or whether they were on their way back. But suddenly, as I was playing, there was this one, I became aware of high-pitched whistling sound, which grew louder and louder. Then there was a thunderous crump of an explosion or explosions in Woodsgate, and it was in Woodsgate Avenue that the bombs hit. And they destroyed about three to four houses, I believe, and this lady was killed. One lady was killed, as far as I know. My memory's a bit hazy on that one. Yeah, I was only 6 years old, and you have to remember, I'm 86 now, so the memories are a bit vague, but obviously things like that fix themselves in your mind quite, even though I was only a young lad. It all seemed to be one summer day blending into the next, all through the war. It was just one long holiday. So even on that particular day, it was no different than the day before or the day afterwards. It was just the same. There was always German bombers going over one way or the other. Yes, I remember laying there and watching the German bombers. They were like little silver specks in the sky, and I can remember seeing the English fighters weaving in and out of them, and every now and again you might see a parachute blossom out, which a German aircrew would bailed out of their stricken aircraft. Yes, I saw aircraft with smoke streaming out, black smoke streaming out from behind them as their fighters scored hits on them, and they were continuously weaving through the sky, in and out of the formations of German aircraft. And they didn't stay in formation for long, because they all broke formation and made a run for it, as you would if you were a German pilot. You wouldn't just fly straight. You'd make a run for it and weave around a bit, which is what happened. The formations broke up, only to be followed by our fighters continuously shooting at them. And you could hear all this from the ground. You could hear the cannon fire and the machine gun fire quite clearly. My memories of Bexhill really start, of course, when I was a young lad and a very young boy, and I first started school. My first day at school, I can remember the name of my teacher, the first teacher I ever had, and that was in what is now called the King Offa Primary School. That's where I started, and she was a dear old lady called Miss Jeans. I can only assume she never got married. And anyway, from then on it was, and then my memories are mostly of my teenage years as an apprentice plumber. That was 5 years. Then I went into the army. I did 2 years national service in Her Majesty's Army, which I wasn't too happy to do at the time, but now I look back, I realise it was probably one of the better times of my life, being a soldier for the King. or the Queen, I'm not sure who it was then. But, those years went by happily, I believe, and then I met my first wife, and we had 2 children. That was in 1964. You know, as you get old, of late it's been a bit difficult, a bit of a stress getting up and downstairs. I gradually got around to thinking of making it easier for myself by possibly having a stair lift. It has been mooted by my daughters and that I should possibly get a bungalow and live all on one floor, which would make it much safer, I suppose. It would cut out my having to go upstairs and downstairs with the risk of a fall. But I've always been a houseman. I've always been gone upstairs to bed, and that's a habit that's not easy to break. So I'm still here, happily still here in my house. In 1940, is that all right? Or we have these little gaps where I try to recall my memory? You can edit it, can you? Yeah? Yeah? Yeah. Okay. In 1940, July 1940, I think it was I'm absolutely certain that it was on my birthday, which is July the 28th. It was a Sunday morning, and I think it was quite overcast. I was playing in my garden. This is at the back of my house, where I lived with Mum and Dad at the time, and I heard this German aircraft circling around the town. You can always tell a German aircraft by the sound of its engines. It was just one aircraft circling. It seemed to go towards Sidley, then the noise stopped. The engine stopped. And I thought, as a little boy, I thought to myself, it's crashed. So I rushed all the way from Sedgwick Road, up to Sidley, through the houses at the top of Sidley, out into the fields that belonged to Buckholt Farm, and to my absolute surprise, there was a German bomber sitting in the field. A twin-engine Junkers 88, they called them, and that was the name of the type of aircraft. I'm not sure whether the aircrew was still there, but there certainly was a Home Guard soldier there guarding the aircraft. And I can remember standing there looking at this black aircraft with its swastikas and German crosses on the wings. And I later read that the aircrew had left the aircraft and were in the farmhouse, Buckholt Farm farmhouse, having tea with the lady farmer. How we doing?